Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to help you prep for a super important interview.
Waste treatment engineer.
Yeah, and it's not just about getting the job right. It's about, making a real impact
Yeah,
in sustainability.
absolutely. I mean, this is a chance to really protect our planet.
Totally. And we've got some awesome resources to help us out today.
The RoleCatcher Career and Interview Guides.
Right. These guides are packed with insights and tips to really help you stand out.
And the career guide actually highlights a really encouraging trend. The demand for skilled waste treatment engineers. It's growing rapidly.
So it's a career with a purpose and a future.
Yeah.
Music to my ears.
Yeah.
Okay, so the career guide has this section called What They Do.
Right.
And it really paints a vivid picture. It's not just about managing waste for it. It's about designing these innovative solutions, researching cutting-edge technologies, problem solving on this huge scale.
Yeah. Like you're right on the money there. And the work environment section, it shows just how many different places you could end up working, like government agencies, private companies, even on-site at facilities.
Talk about variety.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, now let's get down to business. Nailing those interview questions.
Yeah.
So the RoleCatcher guides outline 9 key questions. And we're going to break them down one by one to give you that strategic edge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and remember, RoleCatcher has these AI features. That can really help you out.
Hardly.
They tailor your answers, give feedback, It's all specific to the roles you're going for.
It's like having a personal interview coach,
Right.
like right in your pocket.
Exactly.
Okay, we'll dive into those AI features later. But first, question number 1. What experience do you have with waste treatment processes? Sounds simple enough, but what are interviewers really trying to figure out here?
They're checking your basics.
Yeah.
Your knowledge of all the different processes, like physical, chemical, biological, how they actually work.
So it's beyond just textbook stuff.
Yeah. It's about showing that you've actually gotten your hands dirty. So highlight any relevant coursework, internships, even volunteer work, anything hands-on.
I see. So even if you're fresh out of college, those lab projects and research papers, those actually become pretty important.
Exactly. Even operating basic equipment or running simple tests shows you're willing to learn.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. But what if they throw a curveball? They ask about a specific process you've never even heard of?
Be honest. Just acknowledge that you haven't worked with that specific process yet. But spin it in a positive way, I'm eager to learn. And mention how your experience in something related has given you a strong foundation.
Oh, that's smart. I like that. The interview guide also mentions what not to do.
Yeah.
Never just say, I have no experience.
Right.
It's about framing those transferable skills and your passion for learning new things.
Right. Enthusiasm goes a long way. Okay, so question number 2 might sound a little intimidating. How do you ensure waste treatment processes comply with environmental regulations?
Okay, so this is where all those regulations, the Clean Water Act, the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, all those become super important.
Absolutely. It's not enough to just say, I'll follow the rules. You got to showcase your knowledge of those specific regulations, the ones that are relevant to the job.
So mentioning them by name.
Yeah, even summarizing those key points.
Yeah.
Shows you've done your research.
Makes sense. And you've got to illustrate how you've applied those regulations right in the past, concrete examples.
Excellent point. Whether it's running tests, reports, and new procedures, those examples show you're serious about compliance.
Okay, now picture this. They ask, let's say a process isn't meeting regulations. What do you do, step by step? Talk about pressure.
Right, but it's all about staying calm and showing those problem-solving skills. The interview guide actually suggests this really structured approach. First, identify the issue, then assess the impact, and then finally you propose those solutions. But always keep compliance top of mind.
So you're walking them through your thought process.
Yeah.
Showing how you analyze and address challenges.
Exactly, and that shows you can think on your feet under pressure,
Yeah.
which is key for this role.
Makes sense. Okay, next up, a question that dives into the technical stuff. How do you determine the appropriate treatment process for a given waste stream? This one feels like it requires some serious know-how.
It does. You have to really know your stuff, the different treatment options, and be able to analyze those characteristics of the waste stream to pick the best method.
So things is it hazardous?
Right. What are the chemical properties? Is it solid, liquid?
Like your waste detective.
Yeah.
Analyzing clues to find the best solution.
I like that. And remember those examples of career stages in the career guide?
Yeah.
Those are really helpful here because how a senior waste treatment engineer answers this might be different from someone just starting out.
Right. Tailor your answer to your experience level. So what's the big no-no for this question?
Vague answers. The interview guide warns against those. Don't just say, it depends. Show that analytical process and back it up with examples, even if they're from school projects.
Show, don't tell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Moving on to a question that really highlights safety. How do you ensure the safety of workers and the public during waste treatment?
This one's all about showing your commitment to safety, and awareness of those potential hazards. The interview guide says to mention specific safety procedures. Things like wearing PPE, lockout procedures, emergency response plans.
It's about showing them you don't just care about efficiency, right? You put safety above everything else.
Exactly. And if you've ever conducted safety training or responded to an incident, sharing that adds credibility.
Okay, now imagine they ask, what if a specific process has a unique safety challenge? How do you even approach that?
Stay calm, break it down, outline your approach. First I'd identify the hazards, then I'd consult safety regulations and best practices.
So showing you can think on your feet and prioritize safety, no matter what. All right, let's get analytical. Next question. How do you monitor those waste treatment processes to make sure they're running efficiently?
It's all about the data, showing them you can collect it, analyze it, interpret it. The interview guide mentions all kinds of monitoring techniques, sensors, collecting samples, analyzing those parameters.
So it's about being comfortable with technology.
Right.
And turning that data into insights.
Exactly. If you've used any special software or instruments, mention those.
Okay, now what if they're like, okay, but what if a process isn't performing well? Feels like a tough one to answer.
It is, but it's also a chance to really impress them, Highlight your approach. I'd start by identifying those key performance indicators, then analyze the data, find the bottlenecks, and propose solutions.
You're like a data detective, solving these efficiency mysteries. Okay, this next question brings in the money factor. How do you ensure those processes are cost-effective? Like balancing the budget with doing what's right for the environment.
Yeah, it's a balancing act for sure. Mentioning specific cost-saving measures is key. Things like improving efficiency, reducing waste generation, negotiating good contracts.
So you wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
Environmental steward, budget manager, negotiator.
Exactly. And if you've ever done things like cost-benefit analyses or developed cost models, highlighting those can really impress them.
Okay, last one. They present you with a scenario. You need to reduce costs while staying compliant. What's your strategy?
Holistic approach is key, I would evaluate all those different options for cutting costs, assess the impact, and then propose a solution.
So show them you can make those tough calls.
Yeah.
While considering all sides. Okay, before we get to the rest of those interview questions, let's take a step back. Explore some career insights from the RoleCatcher Career Guide.
Welcome back to the deep dive. So we just tackled some tough interview questions, right?
Yeah, we did.
Now let's zoom out a bit, look at the big picture, what it really means to be a waste treatment engineer.
I like it. And the RoleCatcher Career Guide does a great job with that. Goes way beyond just interview prep. Gives you those real-world insights.
Yeah, and it's so important to be aware of, both the good and the bad. That pros and cons section is a great place to start for that balanced perspective.
Totally. We talked about the high demand, making a positive impact, but it's not all sunshine and roses, right?
Right.
The career guide gets real about those working conditions. They can be hazardous sometimes.
Yeah, safety is really key in this field. And the career guide emphasizes that, the importance of proper training, precautions, all that.
It also highlights how those responsibilities and the potential downsides change as you move up. Like the career stages section maps that out.
Right. Think about it. An entry-level engineer might be in a lab, nice and controlled, but a senior waste treatment engineer, they could be overseeing a huge facility with a whole different set of risks.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Got to go in with your eyes open, see the whole picture.
For sure. Now, something that really stood out to me in the functions and core abilities section, I expected a lot of technical stuff, which is obviously important.
Right.
But it also talked about negotiation, persuasion, even geography.
See, that's what I love about this career. It's not just about the science. It's about people, too.
Exactly. You're working with so many different people, government officials, community members. You got to communicate effectively, build consensus, advocate for those sustainable solutions.
So it's not just crunching numbers and designing systems. It's like navigating the real world with all its complexity.
Exactly. And remember those interview questions we talked about?
Yeah.
You can weave these softer skills into your answers.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like when they ask about balancing customer needs with regulations and budgets,
Right.
you could showcase your negotiation skills,
Right.
your ability to find creative solutions that work for everyone.
Exactly. You're not just a one-dimensional engineer. You're a strategic thinker, tackling those complex challenges.
Speaking of tackling challenges, let's talk about those awesome AI features on RoleCatcher. These tools can really be game changers.
Absolutely. I love the personalized features. You can save questions, track your progress, get feedback, all tailored to the job you're going for.
It's like having a virtual coach in your corner.
The AI feedback is really impressive. You type in your answers, it analyzes them for clarity, structure, relevance. It even suggests improvements. Helps you tailor those responses to specific companies.
And don't forget the Tailor with AI feature for your resume.
Right.
It scans your resume, finds those missing skills, suggests improvements, all based on the job description.
It's like having a resume expert fine-tuning your application.
Okay, back to those interview questions. We've done 6 so far. Number 7, how do you stay up to date on new waste treatment technologies? This field is always changing, so how do you show them you're committed to learning?
This is where you get to showcase your passion, your dedication to staying ahead of the curve. Mention those specific strategies you use, like attending conferences, reading journals, webinars, online communities.
It's about showing them you're not just content with the way things are, you're always pushing the boundaries.
Right. And if you've ever implemented any new technologies based on your research, highlight that.
Now, what if they ask about a technology you've never even heard of? How do you handle that?
Honesty is key. Just acknowledge you don't know it yet, but show them you're a fast learner. Like, I'm not familiar with that specific technology, but I'm eager to learn more. I've been researching. And mention a recent trend or innovation.
Turning that weakness into a strength.
Right.
Good question 8. How do you manage a team of technicians or operators? Leadership time.
Yeah. Show them you can lead, motivate, delegate. Highlight your experience with teamwork, communication, conflict resolution, performance management.
Paint a picture of a positive work environment where everyone feels valued.
Exactly. If you've ever done things like training programs, mentoring, team building activities, those are great examples to share.
Okay, tough one. How would you handle a performance issue or conflict on the team? Those can be tricky.
They can, but it's a chance to show off those conflict resolution skills. Emphasize active listening, finding the root cause, facilitating a discussion.
So leading with empathy, creating a positive environment even when things get tough.
Right. Okay, last question in this set. How do you balance customer needs with regulations and cost constraints? This is the ultimate juggling act.
Keeping everyone happy, the customers, the regulators, and the budget.
Exactly. And that's what they're looking for. Your ability to think strategically and make those smart decisions, outline your decision-making process, emphasize those thorough assessments, considering all sides, prioritizing solutions that work for everyone.
So you're not just a technical expert, you're a problem solver.
Right. And if you've actually navigated a similar situation in the past, share that story.
Okay, picture this. They say, tell us about a time a customer request clashed with regulations or the budget. What did you do?
Showcase those diplomacy skills. Like, I started by acknowledging the customer's needs and my commitment to staying compliant and on budget. Then I explored alternative solutions.
Finding that win-win. Okay, before we wrap up, something super important. Tailoring your answers to the company and the role.
Oh yeah, that's crucial. Do your research, understand their mission, values, projects.
Show them you've done your homework, that you're genuinely interested.
Right. That enthusiasm goes a long way.
Mm-mm.
Okay, before we sign off, let's look at one last piece of advice from the career guide that could really give you an edge. Welcome back to the deep dive. So, we've covered a ton of ground today.
We have. Those interview questions, the career guide insights, even AI tips.
Yeah, it's been a lot. But before we go, let's recap everything.
Yeah. What are the key takeaways? If our listeners could only remember 3 things, what would they be?
Okay, so number 1, preparation is key.
Makes sense.
You wouldn't run a marathon without training right.
Right.
Same goes for interviews. Research the company, know those job requirements, practice those questions.
Yeah, like have a game plan.
Exactly. And that brings us to number 2. Endurance.
Oh, I like that.
Job hunting can be a marathon. There will be rejections.
Setbacks.
Yeah. But don't give up. Stay positive and keep tweaking your approach.
Every no gets you closer to a yes.
Exactly. Okay. Last but not least, authenticity.
Ooh, I like that one.
You gotta prepare, yeah. But don't forget to let that passion shine through.
Right, like let your personality show.
Yeah, that's what makes you memorable. It helps you connect with those interviewers.
So you're saying, this is me, this is what I'm about.
Exactly. So to recap, prepare, be persistent, be yourself.
Love it. Okay, before we go, you mentioned something earlier about researching local waste treatment technologies. Why is that so important?
It shows initiative and local awareness. Like you've taken the time to understand the specific issues in their area.
It's like saying, I'm not just here for a job. I want to make a difference here.
Exactly. And you never know, you might discover something interesting that could spark a conversation in the interview.
That's a great point. Yeah, I think we've given our listeners everything they need to ace those interviews. Any last words of wisdom?
Remember, this is more than just a job. It's a chance to make a real difference. So embrace that challenge, prepare well, and let your passion show.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher has your back. Their guides and tools can really help you out.
So go out there, future environmental heroes, and make our world a better place.
That's a wrap on another episode of The Deep Dive. Check out the show notes for all those resources we talked about, including those RoleCatcher guides.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.